On to the next one. This is where we start actually getting humans and get more into the actual objective of this game. So we're now in the second era, and we start out with a fresh planet. You always start out with a fresh planet, and we gain our giants now. This time they give us ocean and forest rather than ocean and rock. So first thing, we just, start out the same as before, create an ocean and create a forest. Now, this is one where they first unlock the abilities. There's 6 different abilities here. There's the forest giant has fruit plant. The ocean giant has domestic animals, which you're not going to miss. The rock giant has precious minerals and advanced minerals. And then the swamp giant has herbs and exotic animals. Now, these different things do different abilities. Now, as far as the village will settle once I put this plant down. There's a nomad, but they don't currently show us the thing up here that will tell us if we have one or not. They won't do that till the 3rd tutorial. But you can actually control the placement of villages based on where you put resources, because they'll only be able to grow where there's resources. Now, the village proper takes up 4 spots of land. So, I can control this so if I don't want them going next to the ocean, if I put a fruit plant here, that's only 3 spaces. They will be unable to actually grow there. Now the borders, they can put the borders wherever. So I could actually technically have their borders going into the wasteland here, but I don't really want that. I want the village in the center of this biome here. So I'm going to place the fruit plant right here. Now there is some amount, because they do start out with 2 borders on both sides of the village. So the village could either spawn with the left border here or the left border here. But I can almost completely control village placement this way. It's a neat little trick. So yep, it did here. So I can do it within 1 block, which is very useful. So we start out here with you see the bunkers here. These mark the borders. Now the bunkers are not actually in the village. So the spots you have to work with, which are the village, are these 4 places here. You can't place stuff in the village, and you can't place stuff, and you can place stuff outside it, but it will not actually gain the village any prosperity. Which the prosperity here is this mark 2 of 5, and then this face here shows their greed level. So now getting more into what all the stuff is here, we have food in use, which the left number here is food in use, and the right number here is available. So they can technically gain up to 5 right now, and they'll slowly gain towards us. The bigger of a difference between the the first number and the second number, the faster it will grow. Now, something to keep in mind here is that greed, by default, will start growing if the number difference of any one of these categories is more than 20. Now, it doesn't matter. Let's say I have 10 difference of food, 10 difference of wealth, and 10 difference of tech. That will not gain greed. It has to be in a single category. So even though that's 30 total. So unfortunately, you don't have to worry about that. So anyways, here's just the addition of the 3 subcategories of food, tech, and wealth. This down here is your greed measure, which if you have any category growing in greed, you'll slowly gain greed down here. Generally speaking, if you don't have any war marks, they'll start going to war at 3 greed. So less than 3 greed, you're fine. Also, greed will decrease slowly over time if there's not increasing greed for long enough. And also then around 8, they will start attacking your giants, which is why the health bar comes into play. Now, you can actually reset greed completely. If they get up to the point where they attack the giants, you can actually destroy the riders, and if you hit the city, like the best way to reset is to attack the riders on the town itself with like a muck bomb from the swamp giant, which we'll get later, and this will actually completely reset greed. But anyways, more to that, there's other ways to control greed. The first one is awe. Awe pretty much makes it so that you can have a bigger difference between top and bottom for in use and used for it to work. So let's say I have 20 awe. I can now actually gain 40 of a resource at a time without them gaining greed. This is really useful because then later on with higher projects, going just 20 at a time is not fast enough to complete these projects. And then the other way is danger, which danger, it's okay. I'm not a huge fan of it, but pretty much there's 3 categories here. No danger threat, being influenced, and dying. Here, they'll gain greed, whatever, if they're in here. Now, if they're in here, they will not gain greed. They'll be too busy fighting danger. So you could actually have 100 growth, and it will show that it's they're gaining greed, but they're not because they're in danger. These numbers here, the 2 and the 8, determine this zone here. So it's between the numbers 2 and 8. 2 would be down here still. 8 would be up here. So I need to get a number between 3 and 7, actually. Now this number up here means the village is dying, or they're going to kill the greed, which means they're going to destroy the animals that are causing the danger. The reason I don't like doing danger as much is because you have to balance it pretty well. Plus, also as the village gets bigger, these numbers change, so you have to keep advancing it. So you could do with the 100 difference there, and they're in danger, they're fine, and you look away for a bit, and they're no longer in danger, and their greed just starts skyrocketing. With awe, if you have a 50 difference, or you have 50 awe or something, they can gain 70. So I mean, it doesn't matter if their village grows some, the awe will always help. With danger, you have to keep increasing it just to be useful. But it does have purposes. Now, these here is the village's strength of army and defense. This is important in knowing like how hard the army is to defeat the other. So I mean, if you have like a 4, let's say the strength of this village is 4, and you have another village with a defense of 20, you really don't have to worry about that war. The defense of 21's going to win. And they'll gain a war mark either way. Either this tribe would gain a war mark or the other one would. Now, war marks do influence the chance to go to war, but not the chance to attack your giants. The more war marks you have, the lower greed is required for them actually to start going to war. This is a rough number, but it's not precise. Generally found about every 3 war marks decreases this by 1. So if you have like 9 war marks, they can go to war without having any greed, which is highly obnoxious. But anyways, let's get on with the tutorial. So they want us to place down more fruit plants. Yeah. Also, to note with the borders, they do slowly expand over time. So you're not just stuck with those same 4 spots you have at the beginning. So I want us to raise the food and use above 10. So we're just going to keep placing down blueberries because that's the only option we have. Since we want this number to grow faster, you never really want it to go exactly to the number there. If you need 10, you want to make it higher because that last point from like 9 to 10 would be excruciatingly long. So the different things here is if you have 1 arrow, it means they're growing slowly. 2 arrows is quickly. 3 means they're gaining greed. Now, when I look on the strawberry here, I'm at the blueberry, not the strawberry, sorry, you'll see they have different things with symbiosis and transmutation. They also have a base stat, which they naturally gain 5 food and 1 natura, which you can see other stats about the stuff by hitting the control key, and it will cycle through, which the main one is just your resources, which I generally keep it on. This one shows natura, awe, and danger. And then this third one here shows defense and strength of villages, which is useful. Now as far as this goes, the have to wait for the little cutscene. Okay, they started the granary project. So I'm just going to pause here for a second. So the blueberries here have a symbiosis of gaining plus 10 food if next to an apple tree, dandelion, or strawberry. Now, if I had any aspects to update things, I could transmute some of this stuff into apple tree or strawberry, and they'd be able to gain the food. Dandelion actually comes from the swamp giant, from the herbs, so don't worry about that. But each of the different things have different base stats, and pretty much using the symbiosis and the transmutations is the way to gain the best abilities. They also have this aspect up here. So like if I were to add the leaf aspect, I'd use up one aspect slot, and it would transmute it. I could transmute it into strawberry. I'll get into more of this as we play through the game. So let's just keep on playing for now. Just wanted to show that. There also are some that have an activation requirement. So like you might need 10 food in use before actually this symbiosis becomes available. You'll always get the base stat, but not always get the transmutation. So they just gained us the domestic animals ability, and I'm going to place this right here in this empty spot. Oh yeah, and the project here, they started the granary, which requires us to get 20 food in use, and they also have a time limit. In the tutorials, this time limit's ridiculous. You'll never run out of this time unless I don't know you AFK from the game. But pretty much it also has a specialization and a requirement. So specialization is it'll gain 15 food for each mineral we have in borders. Using these specializations is the best way to complete projects quickly. Unfortunately, we don't have the rock giant, so we can't actually get a mineral on the borders. Now, these chickens that we just played down, because we're in the forest, so the domestic animals gives default to chickens, gains 3 of food if in range of a blueberry. Now, animals have range. Plants have an area of effect. Minerals are just the one spot. So the animals actually gain food here and the 2 adjacent spots, at least for the chickens. Different animals have slightly different range, which the range is based on here. The green here that you see on this line tells the nature range of the plants. So let's say if within nature range, you could actually technically have an item here, and it'd actually help benefit the plant with that. That also helps with their natura. So anyways, we completed the project. So they're happy. Yay. And they've given us an ambassador. Now the ambassadors are the way that you increase the abilities of your giants. You unlock more things with each ambassador. Which I'll get in more into how the ambassadors work and the abilities you should go for in the actual matches. So here they're just forcing us to go to the rock giant, which it's telling us it's going to give us these 2 abilities, which in all honesty it doesn't. It would actually gain us the exotic aspect, but don't worry about that, just go along with the tutorial. Now it's going to tell us we need to actually place minerals, so let's place a mineral here, and this will actually activate the specialization. So there, we're gaining 15 from it. Now if you notice, since we did that, we're actually gaining a little too much food right now, because we currently have a gain of 22 food. But this isn't a huge difference, and it will quickly go there, and yeah, see, it's already back to being a healthy amount. We didn't gain any greed, it wasn't long enough. And now the gate here, which we put down, it actually has a activation requirement. This has to go, we have to have 10 wealth in order for it to work. But the thing that happens is when it has, we get the activation, it'll gain 10 wealth of next to an animal nest, which is why I put it by the chicken here. And it has its own transmutations. Now there are different things, whether you put it, there's technically 5 biomes that only 3 humans can live in, which are desert, the 3 level ones are desert, forest, and swamp. And then you also have mountains and oceans. Now depending on the, if I put like you can't put minerals in the oceans, but I could put animals in the ocean and I would get fish. If I put animals in the forest, I get chickens. If I put animals, domestic animal in like the desert, I think I get armadillo. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Also, stuff in the mountains will give you different things, have different requirements. It's actually a pretty complex game once things start going. It's pretty simple starting out here, but there's a lot in depth to this game. So right now they wanted me to raise a mountain, so I'm doing that with the rock giant. And now they want us to put domestic animals in the desert. I generally don't like using animals to seed a village because how I was talking about the entire, I can control where villages go. You have a little less control with animals because of the fact that they have range. So the fact of it is the village could settle anywhere where they could have here. So they could actually settle all the way with the left side of the village being as far as here. It just looks like they're doing that. Nope, not quite. That's a little wrong. We got the new village of Firetown. And they started the Shrine Challenge, which needs 10 wealth and 10 food, and will gain me 5 food for each animal within borders. That first animal, it's not actually in borders. When it means in borders, it's actually talking about the source block. So the fact of, even though it's gaining the food to these spots, it's not actually considered in borders for the specializations purposes. So let's put down some here, and then also put down a mineral right here, because that way we'll get the kangaroo rat. That's what it is. The symbiosis with the mineral here. And that's technically enough to complete the project. Actually, I'm going to change up things. I'm going to put domestic animal here and place the second quartz here just so I can do this symbiosis. Now once this activates, both of them will gain 8 wealth. So actually I'll gain 16 wealth once I hit 5. So this should go up to 36 in theory. Yep, and there it does. Yes, that's gaining greed, but it's not really matter, it's the tutorial. And this should have all it needs to complete its project. Yep, there we go. And we should get another ambassador now. But the level ends there. So that's the end of the second era.